Hey, Coug fans, welcome to the Crimson and Gray pregame show presented by BECU. It's so great to be back with you and all of the Cougar football team as we kick off the spring game under head coach Nick Rolovich. First, we'd like to give a very special thank you to all of our partners who make this possible. BECU, Avista, Northern Quest Resort and Casino, Pullman Regional, Spokane International Airport, Steel Northwest, the Swinging Doors, and Miller Coors. Coming up on today's pregame show, we'll be giving an update on all things Washington State athletics, including features on Chloe Larson and Penny Tusa. You also won't want to miss features and highlights from several spring practices. Thank you so much for tuning in. And to get us all started today, sing along as the Cougar Marching Band plays the best fight song in all the land. Go Cougs!
The Super Senior Campaign is a campaign started by the Cougar Athletic Fund to raise money for additional scholarships for an extra year of eligibility. What it means to represent WSU for one final season it's almost indescribable. I think I've loved being a Coug for 5 years, and being able to compete for an extra year has just been life-changing. I got to start grad school, which I'm really excited about, and I got to compete with my team for another year. I think being a Coug, there's nothing like it, and I'm so grateful that I got a chance at another year. Go Cougs!
Chloe Larson of Washington State. She's trying to become Washington State's first ever Pac-12 champion in this, the 34th year of the championships. I can tell you this, in the 8 years that Amy and I have been calling it, they have not been close. It would be huge for Larson to get on the podium.
Oh, this would be so huge. It's all going to be at the start right here.
For my race, I was just trying to think about taking some deep rest and not thinking too much into it.
Splash and dash, 2 links to the pool.
When I first got here, I could tell Chloe was going to be the type of swimmer that could do what she did at Pac-12s. She stood out from the get-go as someone that was a very hard worker, very smart in the way she practiced. What she did this year was really, to me, really not very surprising. She was the one that kind of going into Pac-12s that we knew she was going to do what she did.
I mean, those starts were great. Those starts were clean. You had Chloe Larson from Washington State up and swimming before everybody else, and there she is. She hit the wall first. This is going to be a tight race.
When she hit that 25 first and really nailed that turn and came up, still in first. I didn't think anyone was going to run her down.
Chloe Larson of Washington State, lane 3 toward the bottom. Can she get a title for the Cougars? Here she comes. It's Larson! Washington State has a Pac-12 champion!
That is amazing!
When I touched the wall, I didn't really see that I had placed first, but I had heard all the screams, and then I looked over and I saw my name. And I think it was just excitement after I touched the wall, and everyone else was so excited, so that was really cool to see.
It was such a great moment. Super excited for Chloe and for all of our Cougs, because, I feel like everyone was behind her on that swim, and it was just so much fun.
It's a real honor to be the first Pac-12 champion. It's something that I will cherish forever, and I'm so glad that I can be a Coug and be the first one of many.
Oh my goodness.
This is awesome.
This is like future.
Let's go. Let's do this. Let them in. They've been waiting long enough.
I started playing soccer and basketball first, but then my mom and my dad both were like, try volleyball. And at the time I was a tomboy, so I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I was nervous, you know, wearing spandex. I was used to wearing long shorts. So I started playing volleyball at the age of 8. And ever since then, I kind of fell in love with it.
One thing that really stood out about Penny was just her passion for the game. You know, when you're in a big arena and lots of volleyball games are going on, you can, you know, sometimes pick out that special kid, and she was one of those.
At the time, I didn't have like a dream school. I never thought I was going to be able or good enough to be part of the Pac-12. I spoke to Burdett the first time on February 3rd, 2015. I was a sophomore at the time. I actually talked to Burdett right where my grandfather passed away because it felt like I was closer to him. About the second call, Burdett told me that I have a full ride scholarship on the table as a setter. I chose WSU because it was a promise to my grandfather who passed away in 2010, saying that I would commit to whoever was the first college to give me a full ride scholarship. And they were the first and last coaches I ever talked to. And ever since then, I kept my promise to my grandfather. Something about WSU that stood out was that it was a small little community, and I was so used to being part of a big community, and so just me coming here, it was different, and I like different.
I think Penny brings a lot of like teamwork into the classroom, kind of like she does on the team. I know that her professors all love her and have good things to say about her. She's that eager student who pays attention, stays after, will talk to her professors, gets to know them, ask them personal questions too, to kind of build that relationship with them.
My human development major, I want to become a coach. I kind of want to be like Burdett and Jen and Shannon by like giving someone else the same opportunity that I was given.
I think something that's really important to Penny is kind of the aspect and career of social work, and to help young kids who don't have the same opportunities that she's been given to kind of get them out of some bad situations, to get them to that next level, to take opportunities, to grow, to kind of break that cycle. Penny is a helper. I think that career actually really suits her personality really well.
Her impact on this program is huge, not only on the court but off the court. She has such a special heart and wanting to help kids, so she volunteers all the time. Special Olympics, Bush's Bash, she's involved in SAC as well.
Penny is a leader, and she does so by not only pushing herself, but pushing others with her. She challenges herself to be better every day, not afraid to tell a teammate, hey, let's pick it up, hey, let's get after it, let's add more weight to it, or let's run faster, let's do that rep again. That year, 2018, we had 5 seniors who themselves were leaders, and I think Penny recognized that that's what it takes to be successful.
She's like the most gracious, grateful person you'll ever meet for any opportunity, even if it sucks while she's going through it. She knows at the end of that, it's gonna open doors for her, and that it's the progress that she needs to make in her life.
I'm about to cry, golly. My scholarship means a lot. Without it, I don't think I would be the woman I am today. It's truly a blessing, especially for me and my family, not coming from a family that's wealthy. It truly means a lot. I would like to take the time to thank our CAF donors, because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And thank you for your time and effort, for even supporting us WSU student athletes. A lot of us come from a different place, and to be able to say go Cougs or even wear Washington State across our chest, it means different, and we thank you so much for all that you do and all the support.
Royalty for the city candy. Haunted me, ain't no way to get me. On the leash, this is what it's me. This is royalty on the wake up empty. Hungry homie with the kinfo. Loaded on them on that bando. Coded only for my vision. Money made while you feel broke. That sunny days out of beast mode. I just go the distance, I don't wish no.
You know, I wouldn't be a Texan if I didn't say I didn't like playing, some Garth Brooks or Friends in Low Places. I might be a little unprepared here.
Oh, okay.
Blame it all on my roots. I shut up in boots. Ruin your black tie affair. I was the last one to know, the last one to show. I was the last one you thought you'd see there.
I would just get the crowd turned up. No, I would just, I don't know. I'd find a way to that crowd's gonna be cheering. I don't know what I would do, but it would just happen when I'm out there, and that'd be my talent.
Probably Rodney Dangerfield. You don't know who that is,
No
do
idea. Elaborate on that. It looks like you have no idea who that is.
We'll send you a highlight.
American impression? Oh, no. Oh, I don't even know how to do your American accent. It's so weird. What's going on, y'all? I don't know. She makes a really nice spaghetti bolognese that I like. and I'm actually missing a little bit, getting a little bit emotional thinking about that spaghetti bolognese.
And any dessert?
Dessert? No, she stinks at dessert. Sorry, Mom. I love you, but you know those desserts.
I'm gonna need you to raise your glass. I don't care what you put in it. Here's the nights that you can't take back. We live hard, but we love to laugh. We all thought that we'd get rich fast, hop the plane out to greener grass. Found out that the green is cash, don't compare to the friends that last. See, we won't forget where we came from. The city won't change us, we beat to the same drum. No, we won't forget where we came from. The city can't change us, we beat to the same drum, the same drum. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. Oh, it don't matter where we go, we always find our way back home. La da 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 da, la da 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 da. Oh, it don't matter where we go, we always find our way back home. We always find our way back home.
Network stations, we are 1 minute until airtime on the Washington State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College for our football broadcast. Studios, please start your archive recording. Stations, if you encounter technical issues during the broadcast, please call the Washington State Studio Hotline at 336-831-0824. Coming up on 30 seconds until airtime. Mark, 30 seconds until airtime. Once again, stations, if you encounter technical issues during the broadcast, please call the Washington State Studio Hotline at 336-831-0824. Stations, your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
Almost like a Cougar football Saturday in the offseason.
We go out there, we go to work every time. Just get better each and every day and work my butt off.
Hand off here to McIntosh, right up the middle, touchdown.
This is a level of football where if you're scared of competition, you're probably not supposed to be here anyway.
Left side of the end zone, Travell Harris is there, touchdown.
Everything we do is together, and we have to, find our rhythm.
Delora dives near side to the goal line. Football's there, touchdown.
I think they come out with a purpose. They are really playing together. They just don't want to let each other down.
Cougar football is on the air. This is the 2021 Crimson and Gray game, presented by BECU on the Washington State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. BECU, proud sponsor of WSU. Go Cougs! BECU. More than just money. Today's Crimson and Gray game is also brought to you by Coors Light, Avista, Northern Quest Resort and Casino, by Pullman Regional Hospital, Spokane International Airport, Steel Northwest, and by the Swinging Doors. Now, let's go live to Martin Stadium. Alongside Alex Brink, here's Derek Dice.
Well, good afternoon, Cougar fans, and welcome to the best place on earth, Martin Stadium here in beautiful Pullman, Washington, as we get set for the 2021 Crimson and Gray game. The voice doesn't sound like Matt Chaz. Now, that's because Matt is actually going to be doing the Pac-12 broadcast today, so I'm Derek Dice filling in for him here this afternoon. And Alex Brink, it is the spring game. It looks like fall football outside.
Yeah, a little chilly, kind of classic spring game weather, in my opinion, from my experience at Washington State, certainly. So it's a little chilly outside, but it feels good to see the pads on, the crimson and gray, the white jerseys, the helmets, the whole deal. It is nice to be back in my home away from home.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's check in with Jessamine McIntyre. She is across the field right now, down on the field with the players. Jess?
Certainly am, guys, and we do have a lot of energy. I'm sure that Brink can attest to this, is just getting in those pads in a full uniform as though it's game day, even though they're just scrimmaging each other offense versus defense. It kind of brings you up a step, puts a little pep into it, and that's what we're seeing as these players warm up right now. We do have a little bit of precipitation. It's a little bit of a cold, light, sideways rain that we're hoping just calms down a little bit, but we both know I've dealt with worse in my time here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Alex, we're going to have it's going to be offense versus defense today. So we're going to have the defense in gray and the offense in crimson. And a little bit of a Nick Rolovich is trying to make this fun, right? So
right.
They're employing water balloons into each big play. We have a scoring system. We're not exactly sure how it's going to play out. But for instance, if you score a touchdown as an offensive player, you get 2 water balloon shots at coaches, and they can earn extra points that way. So really just trying to keep this fun.
Right, and that's part of spring ball, right? It's a little bit of a grind. You've been at it for 3 or 4 weeks. The game itself is fun, but there's also an element where it's not real football, right? Quarterbacks aren't live, and you don't have that full piece of it. So Nick Rolovich is trying really hard to showcase, the family atmosphere he's built, the players coach mentality that this staff has, and part of that is making this spring game, feel very fun and lighthearted while also getting some good work in. And so I love the idea behind it. I think the water balloon idea sounded great when they planned it on a 75-degree day a few weeks ago, and now it's 45 and sideways rain, as Jess said, but it'll still be fun, and it's kind of part of the deal.
Yeah, those coaches are going to be regretting it if they're soaking wet in this already cold air here in Pullman. Hey, speaking of making it fun, we saw a video posted on social media a few days ago of coaches taking pies to the face. So just another example, right, of just kind of giving these players something besides the grind of football.
Yeah, Nick Rolovich has worked really hard to build a culture here at Washington State with his staff and these players. As soon as he got here, it's fun-loving, it's family, it is about having a good time while also putting a great product on the field and knowing what, the goal is to win football games, but doing it the right way. I had a great conversation with John Richardson, cornerback coach, and who also heads up the recruiting for Washington State. And, he was telling me that a big part of what they're trying to do is create competition within the rooms, right? Within the cornerback room, within the linebacker room, receiver room. They want the athletes to constantly feel like they have to, work to get better and keep their jobs on the field, even if you're an established starter. And I think that's a great mentality. And then you marry it with that top-down approach that Nick Rolovich has of, hey, let's have fun while doing it. That combination of fun and competition is what can make programs great. And so I think it's a really great recipe. And now we need to see how it plays out, obviously, heading into the fall.
Most definitely. And let's not forget, this is really the first spring football and spring game for Nick Rolovich. It was all canceled last year because of COVID. So these 15 practices here in the spring, really invaluable because you're still trying to install new offensive and defensive systems. They never got fully in the fall. They only played 4 games. So this is a really important time.
Yeah, in that same conversation with Coach Richardson, the first thing he said to me was, the best part about this is he gets to coach his guys, and he gets to really dive into it because they got, 20 practices maybe before the fall, and most of that was spent just trying to get ready, get in shape, and do all the things needed, obviously with all the protocols that went into playing last fall. This is the first time, like you said, these 15 practices where all of these coaches have had the opportunity to dive into the development of their position groups, and I think they're so excited about that because at their core, right, that's what these coaches want, and so that part of of it has been really fun this spring.
And the run and shoot is an offense similar to the air raid where it takes repetition and doing it over and over again. So getting these reps is extremely important for these offensive players.
It's vital. And offensively, this team, it needs to experience some growth. I think going into last fall, again, short time frame, not a chance to put in the full offense, so things were fairly simple. You had a freshman quarterback in Jaden DeLaura. Max Borghi was obviously banged up. So that offense that we saw in fall of 2020 was not the same thing we're going to see in fall of 2021. But there are some questions, right? Obviously, quarterback's something that we'll talk about a lot today. But at the receiver position, particularly outside, what is that going to look like? You have some strengths at running back, offensive line, those sort of things. So I am intrigued to see kind of what the development has been, what the additions have been, how expanded has the playbook gotten. And some of that doesn't mean more plays. It's what you alluded to, which is the timing and the what they do in the run and shoot, where they kind of change the routes mid-play and based off coverage. How far along are we in that process? I'm excited to see what that looks like today.
Yeah, and we've got about 30 minutes until kickoff. We'll go through a lot of these position groups, talk about some of these guys that are coming back, or maybe some new players who are trying to make a splash here for the 2021 season. Derek Dyes alongside Alex Brink and Jessamine McIntyre. Let's take our first time out. Be back with more after this. You're listening to Washington State football from Learfield IMG College.
For Cougs, there's no place like WSU. Late night apps at the Coug, early morning tailgating at Martin Stadium, and every day spent rocking the crimson and gray. And until we get back to campus, Cougs can keep a piece of home wherever they go with the official WSU debit and credit cards from BECU. Learn more at becu.org/WSU. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Northern Quest, we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. But with over 220 grand in cash and prizes up for grabs, you could be celebrating a whole lot more, like a new Ford Bronco Sport in your driveway or more cash in your pocket. We've also got hotel discounts for Camus Rewards members, dining specials, spa and shopping discounts, and anniversary cocktails all month long. Northern Quest $220,000 anniversary celebration. Details at northernquest.com.
The Crimson and Gray game presented by BECU continues in 60 seconds. This is Cougar football from Learfield IMG College.
And now, a moment of chill from Coors Light. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment, made to chill in a canoe, holding a beer instead of a paddle. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
Spokane International Airport is a proud sponsor of Washington State University athletics. The airport connects Cougar fans and alums to major centers throughout the West, with over 50 daily departures to 18 nonstop destinations, served by Alaska, Allegiant, American, Delta, Frontier, Southwest, and United Airlines. Real-time arrival and departure flight information is available at SpokaneAirports.net. Spokane International Airport, when it's time to fly.
You're listening to the Crimson and Gray game presented by BECU on the Washington State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
All right, welcome back to Martin Stadium. Derek Dyce alongside Alex Brink and Jessamine McIntyre getting you ready for the 2021 Crimson and Gray game here in Pullman. Alex, let's talk about the offense a little bit. Last year, obviously, Jaden DeLaura was the starting quarterback coming in as a true freshman. He had played in the run-and-shoot system at his high school, St. Louis High School in Honolulu. He's suspended for the spring. And in the offseason, the Cougs also brought in a transfer quarterback from the University of Tennessee in Jarrett Guarantano. And for a lot of people, this is going to be the first real look at this kid who put up some pretty decent numbers for the Vols in the SEC.
Yeah, look, Jarrett Guarantano is an elite physical specimen at quarterback. I mean, he was an Elite 11 guy. He was one of the highest recruited guys in the country coming out. Went to University of Tennessee. I mean, he's top 10 all time in yards and touchdowns at University of Tennessee, which, as we all know, has a pretty good quarterback history. He's a guy that's played a ton of football. And part of his journey, right, at the University of Tennessee is that there's a lot of ups and downs with coaching staffs and turmoil and all these things. And as the starting quarterback, you have to kind of bear the brunt of that, right? And then you got to go win football games. Sure. And so I think he's been through a lot. His experience is invaluable, whether he's on the field or not for Washington State. Just the fact that he's in that quarterback room is so valuable for this team. But I will tell you, and you'll see it today, he's got above average, well above average athletic ability. He will be able to run and use his legs. He has a great arm. He's big, and he's going to fit this run and shoot system very well. So I'm excited to see him throw it around. I think he's going to put a ton of pressure on Delora, who, missing all of the spring and all the things that are going on right now, it's going to be a true competition. And there's other guys in that room also that are going to push to get on the field. And so this is it is absolutely the marquee storyline, I think, of this spring game, as you would think. But, it's a big question mark.
Yeah, I mean, this is a kid, again, I think he was the number 2 dual threat quarterback in his high school class coming out of high school in New Jersey. And I was here for practice on Tuesday, Alex, and when I first saw him on the field, I was like, whoa. He is much bigger than I thought he was, and especially from kind of the waist up. He is a thick guy through the chest, and he's a guy that they like because of that dual threat, so they can still run some of that run-pass option stuff and have him take off around the tackles.
Yeah, and in this run and shoot for Washington State, offensive coordinator Brian Smith, Craig Stutzman, quarterback coach, they want the quarterback to run the football. That's a piece of the puzzle here, and it adds an extra element to this offense when you can do that effectively, and a guy like Garantano brings that ability. Also the ability to make off-schedule plays when things break down and then be able to screen. Think about the wide receiver group for Washington State. Those inside slots, Travell Harris, Renard Bell. I mean, if they can break away in a broken play, that turns into a lot of big plays down the field. And so for Washington State, that is something they're going to look for from the quarterback position for sure.
All right, how about Cameron Cooper? This is a guy, he was a redshirt sophomore last year, so this is his 4th year here on campus. And I think a lot of people thought that he might have taken the reins of this team by now, and it hasn't quite happened for Cameron. But he's still in the program. He's still very much in the mix with these quarterbacks.
Yeah, and again, another guy that physically has a lot going for him. 6'4", 210 pounds, also a guy that went to the Elite 11, so he was one of the top 11 quarterbacks in the country in his class. But it wasn't so long ago that, being a redshirt sophomore, heading into a redshirt junior year and competing for your job was the norm, right? That you had to bide your time and you had to wait and develop, and a lot of that has changed. I think there's a lot of reasons for it. There's no doubt that quarterbacks are more developed coming out of high school than they were 10 or 15 years ago. I think that's a fact. But at the same time, the expectation that you're supposed to play as a freshman or play as a sophomore, I think is very unrealistic. That's just not the way quarterback play at the highest levels happens. So a guy like Cameron Cooper coming in and sitting and waiting his turn and developing, and he'll tell you that he's had to learn and adjust along the way, and then he had to change systems, right? Air raid to run and shoot. I do not count Cameron Cooper out of this battle. I mean, he has the physical tools to do it. And again, he has worked to this point, and he's going to be a guy in this conversation throughout the spring, summer, and fall.
And I've heard multiple people say Cameron Cooper is one of the best athletes
no doubt
on the whole roster, not just as a quarterback, but as in terms of the whole team.
No doubt.
All right, the other 2 guys we expect to see here today, Victor Gabalis, who's a walk-on from Western Washington, and then Xavier Ward, who is the really big quarterback signee out of this class from Corona, California.
Yeah, and Gabalis is a guy from the west side, like you said, that is a walk-on, but when you watch him throw it, I mean, he throws it as good as any scholarship quarterback that I've seen. So he's a guy that can help this Washington State quarterback room. He's a guy that can learn and develop and keep building himself in this system. So it's fun to see, again, the kid from the state of Washington get over to the east side here, start to kind of build his resume. And then Xavier Ward is the freshman recruit in this class, enrolled early, which is starting to become something that you're seeing a lot more of. And I love what I see out of Ward. I mean, his high school tape, he's a guy that can push the ball downfield. Big arm, big arm. Also a great athlete. This is the first quarterback recruit for Nick Rolovich and this staff. He is the guy they wanted. They went early. They found him. They got him to commit, and eventually got him to sign. And he is the guy they wanted in this group. So to get him here early and get some reps, the game is fast for him right now, and that's okay. That's how it should be. But again, I'm going to go back to Garantano's experience. For Xavier Ward to be able to learn from Jarrett Garantano throughout this year is so valuable. The SEC experience, the big game experience, the ups and downs, all the stuff. That's something Xavier Ward needs to hear. He needs to soak in. He needs to learn because he's got a chance to be a special one for Washington State.
All right, let's talk about running backs. We're not sure if we'll see number 21, Max Borghi, out there today, but do we really need to? I think all Cougar fans know what they're getting from Max by now. But Deion McIntosh, Alex, is a guy who, again, he transferred here from Notre Dame. 2 years ago, he didn't play a ton, but when he did, he showed flashes. And then when Max was out for most of the season last year, Deion's running for like 100 yards a game. He was outstanding. So that 1-2 punch is going to be huge.
Yeah, Deion McIntosh, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. We all remember his performance to start the year against Oregon State, over 140 yards rushing, then backed it up the next week with nearly 100 yards rushing against Oregon. McIntosh is a guy that is great for the run and shoot system because he's a downhill runner. He'll one cut and go. Same as Max Borghi, by the way. But we all, again, like you said, we know about Max Borghi. So to see McIntosh come in and provide some depth was really important. And whether we see Borghi or not today, I think the important piece is that, when Max came back and played in that last game against Utah and got some snaps under his belt, scored a touchdown, it probably wasn't the debut he was exactly hoping for as far as wins and losses, but to get him back on the field and just see that, and then for him to commit and say, I'm coming back. Yeah. I want to do it again, was, I think it warmed all of our hearts, but it also told you about the type of kid he was, which is he feels like there's some unfinished business, and he wants to finish what he started. Max Borghi, when he's on the field and healthy, is arguably the best player on the field every time he's out there, and he's going to be the straw that stirs the drink for the Washington State offense. That's a big thing I don't know that people understand, is that last year, because of that shortened time frame, Coach Rolo and Coach Smith, that offensive staff said, the way we win football games is running everything through Borghi. We're going to use the screen game. We're going to run him. Yeah. We're going to split him out and put him at receiver. He is going to be the focal point of this offense. Well, then he gets hurt. And so then you lose kind of what you had banked on to go into that season, and you're kind of back into, hey, we got to stick with the offense that we didn't get the time to install all the way, so we kept it pretty simple and those sort of things. So I expect this fall, Max Borghi, again, the centerpiece of this offense, and is going to be that straw that stirs the drink and will lead to a lot of opportunities for Washington State to win football games.
All right, other running backs we expect to see today, JoJo Bazile, the speedster out of Florida.
Excited to see him.
Penny Naulu, who's out of Hawaii. And then the kid from Mount Spokane, Cannon Katzer, who is a walk-on with the club. And all these guys, have a chance to shine today.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, Naulu came in for Washington State under Coach Leach as a linebacker, and he was kind of a really elite athlete at linebacker. And eventually, as the transition in staffs happened, I think Coach Rolo saw, boy, that's a big, good-looking athlete, 6'2", 220 pounds. We can get him in the backfield, and he can be a real bruiser for us. And Naulu played running back in high school, so that's part of the transition. So seeing guys like that get out there, obviously Bazile is a straight speed. And the key for him is the game as it moves. How do I be able to utilize that speed when I get the ball in my hands? And that's what these spring ball reps are so valuable for. And a guy like Katzer, right, as a walk-on, this is your time. Your time to get the reps, show that you belong and be a part of it. And again, as a freshman, get in, develop, and eventually as you get into the fall, get a chance to get some snaps.
All right, we're going to take another timeout here as we continue to get you ready for the Crimson and Gray game here at Martin Stadium. Before we go to a break, though, Matt Chasnow had a chance to catch up with Pullman Regional Hospital CEO Scott Adams.
CEO of Pullman Regional Hospital. Thanks so much for taking the time. Great to talk to you. Please tell us a little bit about the student athlete performance and the connection with Pullman Regional Hospital and the dynamic there for Washington State University.
Well, we've of course enjoyed a really long partnership with Washington State University. Some areas in very formal terms, others in more just almost organic-like opportunities for the staff at the hospital, physicians and other clinicians and researchers and professors at the university to explore possibilities in improving human performance or finding solutions to various challenges. More particularly around WSU athletics, we're there for the emergency things that arise in the midst of competition and in a game or a match or those sorts of things. But there's other things we do that kind of might precede the activity that the athlete's involved in, or maybe as a follow-up to some more acute intervention, such as surgery or a visit to the emergency department or something like that. We have cardiac evaluations that we do for many of the athletes prior to their entering into their designated sport. We have lab testing. We have imaging studies that we do to address certain issues and alleviate any concerns that there might be. We certainly have nutritional consultations that we offer, as well as rehabilitation services and physical therapy and occupational therapy and those types of post-injury or post untoward event types of recovery efforts. So there's a lot of kind of marrying the mutual commitment that both Washington State University and Pullman Regional Hospital have to excellence with the performance that these athletes are able to provide in their field of endeavor.
One of the really amazing parts about being a Coug and being in the pack is the scope and the breadth of the care medically that's in Pullman with Pullman Regional Hospital. When you think of a town like Pullman, a college town, it's a small area. You may imagine, if you didn't know any better, that you'd have to go to Spokane for that kind of care or a larger place. But, Pullman Regional Hospital offers those sorts of things for student athletes.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that the community in general and WSU in particular have been very supportive of our ability to expand and provide specialty care, whether it's in orthopedic surgery or ophthalmology or cardiology, even mental health areas. We've got growing capacity in psychiatric providers, whether they be physicians or nurse practitioners, to help address the mental and emotional challenges that our community faces, and that athletes in particular have maybe some unique areas that they need support in. So we're really pleased with what we're able to offer and look to the university as a real support in helping that be possible.
Well, Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time here. The CEO of Pullman Regional Hospital, Scott Adams, joins us here on this football broadcast. We're starting to get back to it here. I hope and I think it feels that way. And it's exciting to talk to you in the context of playing spring football and getting back at some sense of normalcy, whatever that new normal may look and feel like here on campus and with Cougar football.
Yeah, we're grateful to be one of the key sponsors for WSU athletics and anxious to see things begin to move back to something that we all look forward to and enjoy. So go Cougs.
Hi, it's Ruben Mays, proud Cougar and proud supporter of Pullman Regional Hospital. Our community hospital is working tirelessly to keep you and our community safe. Thank you for your generous support in the face of major expenses related to COVID-19. But listen, there's more work to be done. We need space to house a medical residency program to ensure continued access to family medicine physicians. We need you. Join us. Visit pullmanregional.org and click on Highest Needs to learn how you can help. Thank you and welcome to the team.
Carbon monoxide detectors save lives because if kerosene, propane, natural gas, or wood isn't burned properly, dangerous carbon monoxide may result, and it can build up indoors without you knowing, as it's invisible and odorless. So protect yourself by installing UHL-approved carbon monoxide detectors. If carbon monoxide is present, the detector will alert everyone to get out of the house, where you can safely call 911 for help. Avista, we just want you to be safe.
This is the Washington State Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Come on down to the Swinging Doors. We're open. If you're dining in, we're seating at 50% capacity, and we installed a brand new air purification system that kills bacteria and viruses in the air and on surfaces. Our all-day breakfast starts at 8 a.m. Enjoy happy hour from 3 to 6 every afternoon, or come for dinner. Our kitchen is open until 10. Choosing takeout or delivery, we're working with both Uber Eats and Grubhub to bring our food straight to your table. With over 50 TVs, 27 beers on tap, and soups made daily, you can't go wrong with the Swinging Doors. Family owned and operated since 1981.
Get big league performance in your backyard with Steel battery tools.
From mowers to trimmers, our AK Homeowner Series starts at just $199.99. STIHL is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. Pick up at over 10,000 local dealers. Real STIHL. Find yours at STIHLdealers.com. All prices MSRP. Available at participating dealers. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
All right, welcome back to Martin Stadium. Derek Dice, Alex Brink, Jessamine McIntyre getting you ready for the Crimson and Gray game. We've got about 13 and a half minutes on the stadium scoreboard clock here before we kick things off. So, Brink, let's continue to talk about the offensive players. We talked about the quarterback and running back positions. Let's go to wide receiver now. And I think the two most certain things at the receiver spots are your two inside guys in Travell Harris and Renard Bell, who really separated themselves and showed themselves to be dependable, explosive players for this offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Renard Bell and Travell Harris really made this offense go last year in a lot of different ways, right? You saw Travell Harris get utilized in the run game with some fly sweep action. You know, him and Bell from the inside, they schemed up a lot of plays to get them touches. But the reality of the situation is that for Washington State's offense to be successful, they have to have guys on the outside that can stretch the field. And the coaches will tell you that. The one thing they need in the run and shoot is guys that can go vertical outside, takes the pressure off those inside guys who are very talented, but they can't do it all on their own. So what we need to see today is where's the depth going to come from on the outside? Because that's one thing that the Cougs just flat out didn't have last year. And so you've got some young guys, you got some transfers in the mix, you got one returner in Calvin Jackson Jr., who we know can play at a high level. So, you know, excited to see him get back out there. But, you know, the newcomers are CJ Moore, the junior college transfer who was a 4-star recruit, went to Oklahoma State, saw some early playing time, has all the ability in the world.
Really tall and lanky.
6'4", 185 pounds, can run. He has all the tools. But a guy like that who's been through his journey, and I've seen it before, he has to make a switch. He has to flip that switch mentally to say, okay, I'm going to be on the field. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to do things the right way. I'm going to let my physical abilities really shine and almost in a way kind of get out of his own way to some degree, right? And so I think the coaches are very excited about what he brings to the table, and now it's time to find the consistency for him. There's another guy, Deshaun Strimblin, who from Hawaii, true freshman. I've heard great things about him in the spring. You went to a couple practices and you mentioned his name. I mean,
big physical presence.
Exactly. And what I saw on tape from him, from his high school tape, as we looked at that recruiting class, is long, can run, snatches the football out of the air. He's a little bit raw, so you got to see how things happen, you know, in game, right? When a defender is off and all of a sudden he comes up and presses you, when he's pressed and then he bails, what's your plan? That's why these spring practices are so valuable for a guy like Stribling, who is coming straight from high school to try and get on the field and start in the Pac-12. But he definitely has the ability. So those two guys, right, we got to see on the outside. A couple guys on the roster that have been around. Donovan Ollie, big body, guy that got some snaps last year. Mitchell Quinn, obviously. These guys have been around, but it'll be interesting to see who develops on the outside. The last thing I'll say about the receiver position, there's a couple guys in the slot. Some guys we saw last year, right? Joey Hobart's a guy that we saw get on the field, has a lot of ability. A couple transfers that I think are intriguing. One of them, Lincoln Victor, played for Nick Rolovich at Hawaii. He's a kid from Union High School down in Camas, Washington. I've known Lincoln for a long time. He is an explosive player. In 2019, he had 3 touchdowns as a freshman for Hawaii.
And that high school is where Steve Broussard is now.
Exactly,
correct?
Yes, exactly. Great high school program. Also, Drake Owen is a transfer from Central Washington, another slot player who had over 400 yards receiving in 2019 for Central Washington. So you got a couple guys that create some depth in that slot position along with Hobart. I'm excited to kind of see how that group, you know, builds out, because it, again, can't just be Bell and Harris. It has to be more from that receiver group.
You know, and one thing I heard Coach Rolovich talking about in a post-practice presser the other day, he looks at his outside and inside receivers as interchangeable. You know, same thing, just on the other side of the field. Whereas the previous coaching staff here liked you either your X or Z or 100%. Your H or your Y, and you're not changing. So that kind of comes in handy, right? Because let's say a Renard Bell is dinged up, then Joey Hobart can fill in on either one of those spots.
And I think for me, my offensive philosophy is that's how it should be, right? You shouldn't just be an X or just be a Z. You should learn both sides of the field, because in general, when you call plays, you won't have the ability to just flip-flop and have guys do both. So, I think that makes a lot of sense. It also makes those guys better football players because they have to know more spots than just their one.
All right, let's talk about O-line. And this is a position group I think most Cougar fans and the coaching staff feel good about. You probably got two pros on the outside in Abe Lucas and Liam Ryan. You're returning your center. Jarrett Kingston is an experienced guy who looks like he's probably going to be your left guard. So really the only position that you have a question mark right now is the right guard spot, but there's a lot of candidates that can fill that, including guys like Cade Beresford or Maake Fifita and maybe even another couple others.
Yeah, and Beresford kind of looks like the leader of the pack in that group. But like you said, there's a lot of talent there. You have to give a ton of credit to the previous staff. I mean, Mike Leach and their ability to recruit offensive linemen, project offensive linemen, and commit to taking a lot of offensive linemen has created great depth. And that's why you have guys like Lucas and Ryan. But then even last year, you filled in a center in Brian.
With his former teammates. It looks like he will be standing on the sideline throughout the game, and I'll see if I get a chance to catch up with him.
Yeah, great to have Dre back in Pullman, of course, now with the Philadelphia Eagles, former first-round draft pick. They're actually even raising the Cougar flag right here now, as you can hear the Rocky music in the background. All right, let's flip it over and talk about defense for a second. Talking to some of the staff here at WSU, they are really thrilled to have the kind of depth they have on the defensive line, which is it's not something you've been able to say a lot of times in the past.
No, not at all. But, some of kind of the injuries from last year, even injuries from 2 years ago, has led to this depth where you have guys that have a lot of snaps under their belt over the last couple of years, and now they're all back, right? Because you got the extra year, and you have some guys that's had to step in. You think about Quinn Roth and some of these guys that had to step in and played really well, and so guys like Brennan Jackson that emerged last year as playmakers on the edge, but then inside, Dallas Hobbs is back, Amir Crowder's back, Jesus Echeverria, Amir Mujahid. Like, you got a ton of guys, plus some young guys coming up. That depth really helps. And I think, for me, as I look at this defense, you can go down the list. Jahad Woods, Justice Rogers, Armani Marsh. Some of these guys, you feel like they've been here 10 years, right? And that's a benefit, right? And talking to Ricky Lago, the defensive line coach, he loves that group, and he's able to get those D linemen going. So the one question mark I have is safety. Yep. You're gonna have to figure out where the depth is, particularly free safety, right? Hunter Escorcia is a young player, got some snaps last year. He looks like he's going to be a guy that's trying to fit in. A couple other guys though, Khalid Jabril, Armani Archie, Tanner Moku. We got to figure out where that spot is. But you do bring back Daniel Isom at the strong safety position, who played great last year. And then corner. Corner is a position of strength for this Washington State team.
And, legitimately, you're talking about 7 candidates for your cornerback spots, right? Jalen Watson is leading the way. He's another guy that this staff thinks can be a pro.
No doubt.
But there's a lot of other names there that they can feel comfortable throwing out there.
No doubt. George Hicks is a guy that has been in this program for a long time, played at a high level, so he's there. Shaw Smith-Wade came in as a freshman in the fall, was one of this staff's first recruits, and they just loved him. John Richardson loved him. He jumped in when he got nicked up along the way, but when he was on the field, looked great. You talked about Watson. Derek Langford's been here for a long time, came in as a junior college transfer with 3 years to play. He's made some strides. Coach Richardson told me that he's leading the team in interceptions during this spring, has taken his game to another level in part, and I thought this was very interesting, this whole group has raised their level of play because they brought in a transfer from Michigan State, Chris Jackson, who has been able to come in, and when you get a new face and a new body that comes in with some experience, everybody kind of looks around as competitors and says, okay, I'm going to raise my level of play, right? And so Coach Richardson said that Chris Jackson has done that. So you have another guy with experience in that room. There's a lot of bodies to choose from and a lot of talent.
And he's not the only transfer on the defense. The other guy is Ben Wilson.
Yeah,
he's a kid from Lake Tapps on the west side. Right. Went to TCU, and he really brings some more depth to that inside linebacker spots to go along with Jahad Woods, Justice Rogers, and Travion Brown.
Yeah, and Ben Wilson was one of the top recruits to come out of the state of Washington, ended up at TCU. Now he's back home in his home state. The depth, like you said, at that linebacker position, you can't get them all on the field, but as we've seen in the past, you do need to have the ability to rotate guys through, and so having the depth and experience of a guy like Ben Wilson to go along with Jahad Woods, Justice Rogers, and then you mentioned the name Travion Brown. I mean, we want to see him on the field. We've been saying it for 2 years. Yeah. We want to see him get snaps. I have heard that he's made that step this spring, that he's starting to get to that point where you can't keep him off the field. He's too talented.
Doesn't look lanky anymore. He looks like a linebacker now. Jess, you got something for us?
Hey guys, we do actually have a score up here, and this is just a reminder that this is not going to be your typical football game.
We haven't even kicked yet.
The Crimson team apparently scored 3 points in a long snapper drill, which is something new and something different. So keep in mind there'll be a lot of fun things happening outside of the official field of play. Also, as Crimson, the offensive team, does prepare, it looks like Jared Guarantano is going to get the first snaps for the offense here. Obviously, we're going to be looking at him alongside Cam Cooper, as those two are competing with a bevy of other younger guys who are still on this roster. We know number 18 right there, we've seen a grad transfer with a lot of success. Looking like that before. It'll be interesting to see what kind of arm he has in these drills, guys.
All right, hey, let's take one more time out here, and we'll be back ready for kickoff of the Crimson and Gray game from drizzly Pullman, Washington after this.
Spokane International Airport is a proud sponsor of Washington State University Athletics. The airport connects Cougar fans and alums to 18 nonstop destinations provided by 7 major airlines. Nonstop services available to Atlanta, Boise, Dallas, Denver, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, Oakland, Orange County, Phoenix, Portland, Sacramento, Salt Lake City, San Diego, San Francisco, San Jose, and Seattle. And starting May 6th, Chicago. For real-time flight arrival and departure information, go to SpokaneAirports.net.
And now, a moment of chill from Coors Light. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment, made to chill in a canoe, holding a beer instead of a paddle. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
This is Drew Bledsoe, and you're listening to Cougar Football.
Bledsoe calls his play, has the ball, throws a home run ball from the end zone to Bobo. Touchdown! Washington State!
On the Washington State Sports Network.
The Kalispel tribe has always had a tradition of giving back, even when there wasn't much to give. But since opening Northern Quest 20 years ago, we've been able to give back more than ever, with 1,500 jobs, $20 million donated to the local community and nonprofits, and a $275 million economic impact on the region annually. So here's to the Kalispel hospitality that made it all possible, and to another 20 years of even better days ahead.
For Cougs, there's no place like WSU. Late night apps at the Coug, early morning tailgating at Martin Stadium, and every day spent rocking the Crimson and Gray. And until we get back to campus, Cougs can keep a piece of home wherever they go with the official WSU debit and credit cards from BECU. Learn more at becu.org/WSU. Federally insured by NCUA.
All right, welcome back to Martin Stadium. We are ready to rock here in the 2021 Crimson and Gray game. It's going to be offense versus defense today. The offense is in crimson, the defense in white, and Jared Guarantano behind center for the very first snap of this 2021 spring football game. Deion McIntosh moves to Guarantano's left, and the snap from Brian